This week on the Swearwolves, David and I show off our acting chops as we discuss and review the 1983 film, The Deadly Spawn.
We'll begin with a reign of terror. A few murders here and there.
Welcome back to the Swearwolves. I'm Bret.
I'm David.
I don't know why I said it that way.
I'm Bret.
David, how are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Oh, you know, I'm hanging. I'm hanging.
Dead inside.
Yeah, dead inside. Valentine's Day was just last week. We didn't even talk about it in our last episode. We didn't even mention that
For the
Valentine's
lovely
Day.
chocolates you sent me.
Yes. I didn't.
That's
send
true.
him
We
anything.
didn't. We're terrible romantics.
Yeah, this time of year is just really rough. I mean, my anniversary was in January. And then right after, like 2 weeks after that is Valentine's Day. And then like 2 weeks after that is my wife's birthday.
Oh, man.
So like, I'm like, pom. So it's my
just
wife's
keep
birthday.
coming.
It's my wife's birthday. So say happy birthday to Christina.
Oh, happy birthday, Christina.
She is 30 years old. Did you know she's only
so
turning
young.
30 years
I
old?
would have even guessed that. I would have guessed 26, 27.
That's why you're her favorite friend of mine. But yeah, so I got bam. Well, Christmas, anniversary. Poor planning on my part.
Yeah. Plus, yeah, exactly. You could have just got married a different day. I mean, the other
Yeah.
things aren't quite as avoidable.
Yeah,
also
or
got
it could have been like,
conventions
when's
and
your
stuff coming up?
When's your birthday?
September.
I can't date her. Her
Oh,
birthday's in
talking about
February.
my birthday.
No, not yours. I know when your birthday is too. But yeah, conventions are coming up. You just got back from Days of the Dead. Thank you for getting some signatures for me there.
You bet.
I'm going to be going to New Jersey twice. God.
And you're
God
going to
help
return the
me.
favor and take some shit for me.
You know what else I'm going to be doing this week? This weekend? I'm going to New York City.
Oh, yeah.
New York City!
Get a rope.
My wife, for her birthday, I'm taking her to Manhattan for a weekend.
Oh, I'm jealous, man. New York is a blast.
Never been.
Oh, it's so fun.
None of us have ever been. My kids are coming with us. None of us have ever been. We're going.
Yeah, you're going to have a lot of fun. How exciting.
Yeah, it'll be exciting. I'll have more updates. Probably not the next time we record, because the next time we record, I will not have gone yet. But after that, I'll be talking about it all the time. What else was I gonna say? There was something else I was gonna bring up, but if I think about it, I'll talk about it. But do you have anything? Oh, I was gonna say I was going to Jersey for conventions. Monster Mania is coming up in March, and New Jersey Horror Con is also in March, a couple weeks after that. And then you have
I got a
nothing until
few. I've
July.
got Texas Frightmare.
Oh yeah, May, right?
Yeah, late May, I think. And then like right after that, I think the next week is Monster Palooza in Pasadena. So I'm going to both of those. And then Mad Monster in July.
Yeah, and I still might go out to Mad Monster. I do like that show. It's just flying.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can get a good flight,
It's expensive.
but it's expensive, especially because I live in rural Pennsylvania, so I have to either drive to Philadelphia or I have to fly out of a smaller airport, and it's more expensive to fly out of a smaller airport. So we'll see. We'll see. I got a side hustle going on, David. It's selling stuff on eBay. You know what? I should have promoted this. So maybe there's people out there who's like, "Oh, I collect this." This is what I was going to talk to you about, actually. You know how when you get into a hobby, you're like all in. You jump right in the pool, and you're like, "I don't give a fuck. I'm collecting everything."
And you go overboard. Exactly.
So, started collecting horror-related action figures and memorabilia and shit like that. And it was like, I just bought. Anytime I saw something horror-related that was a toy, I pretty much bought it. And then all of a sudden I have a bunch of shit. And then you start pinpointing, the more you get into the hobby, you start pinpointing the kind of stuff you want. And like, I gravitate more towards like the NECA Ultimate figures and the NECA 8-inch figures. Those are like the ones that I like to collect now. But I still have all this other shit that I bought, which was a lot of like Funko Pops are big. And I would see horror ones and I just buy them up. So I have a bunch of Funko Pops, and I don't know how popular they are anymore with people. They must still be popular because I'm selling them on eBay and people are buying them.
I'm saying they still make them.
Yeah, they still make them. So I have a bunch of Funko Pops for sale. If you're interested in horror Funko Pops and you want to know what I have, just shoot me an email. Contact me via our contact.
And it's worth more because it was owned by you.
A Swearwolf.
By a Swearwolf. That's pretty cool.
So there's that. So I've been selling some of that stuff to get some funds so I can support this hobby. Yeah. But the one thing I will say is like we started collecting about the same time original one sheets for movies. Mm-hmm. And I don't think I've gone too overboard with that. I've collected the ones that I want to collect, not just buying ones just cause. Same.
Yeah, there's a couple that I have that I'm like, hindsight being 2020, I probably wouldn't have bought that Memoirs of an Invisible Man poster, but you know, it was $10, I think, so I'll still sleep at night.
Are you gonna have John Carpenter sign it at Texas Frightmare?
Oh shit, he is gonna be there. His line's gonna be so ridiculous though, and I don't have VIP, so I'm probably not gonna meet him at that show. Otherwise, I would, just so I could hear him talk shit about it. Because I don't know. Part of the reason why I got it was, well, you were gonna go to a show where Chevy Chase was gonna be. I think that's what started it. So I was like, I'll get Chevy Chase on it, and then the next time I meet Carpenter, I'll have him sign it, and maybe he can talk shit and tell me what a dick Chevy Chase was.
To be fair, though, Chevy Chase had to wear some like really uncomfortable like
like
stuff
all the
to make him
and stuff to like make him
look invisible. That's what I've read. So he was really kind of a pisser about it because of that. And I don't know. That movie was doomed to fail from the get-go.
Yeah. Oh, well. But yeah, maybe someday.
Yeah, it would be funny, though. But if you recall, when we were in Pittsburgh and we met John Carpenter, we went back through and looked into his room, and he had just gotten back from break, and no one was in there. We could have just walked right up to him. There was a point
where his line was smaller. But another reason why I probably won't get him, though, is I'm only going to Texas Frightmare for one day. Like, I'm going up Friday, and I'm flying back Saturday afternoon. So I technically have a weekend pass. So if there's anybody I don't get, I could go back Saturday and get them before heading to the airport.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. You raised some good points, Brett. Maybe I'll bring the poster with me just so it's there.
Listen, don't put that on me. Don't bring the poster.
Well, I'm already bringing the tube anyway. I may as well pop it in there.
Yeah, but I mean, how much you're going to spend so much on John Carpenter's autograph on a fucking poster that nobody wants. So even if you ever did try to resell it, people are going to be like, Memoirs of an Invisible Man. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah. A lot of people be like, yeah, exactly. They'd be like, that. I didn't even know that movie existed. Or they'd be like, John Carpenter directed that? Weird.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not an awful movie.
It's not as bad as I was expecting. Because I saw it for the first time not all that long ago. Maybe a couple years ago.
Yeah. Well, speaking of movies that we've seen for the first time, you picked this movie that we're going to do this week.
I did.
Had you heard? How have you heard? How did you hear about this movie?
I remember seeing it at the mom and pop video store that I went to as a kid. So I remember seeing the VHS box. But what kind of brought it back was through our pinball hobby. There's the guy that wrote the movie, or one of the writers of the movie, Ted Bohus. I don't know how he's his last name.
He produced it.
He posts on a pinball forum, and I think there was a post where he was talking about this movie. So I always kind of had it in the back of my mind. It's like, oh, it'd be one to do at some point because it looked super cheesy. It's like sometimes those are fun to watch and talk about.
Well, you'll have to write to him on Pinside and just be like, hey, Ted, check out this. We talked about your movie.
Yeah.
Or
depending on what we say, I may or may not send that type of message.
Well, we'll see. The movie we're talking about is the Deadly Spawn, a.k.a. Return of the Aliens Deadly Spawn, a.k.a. Return of the Aliens, The Deadly Spawn. Came out in 1983. Yeah, so many titles. Came out in 1983, April 22nd, 1983. David, I feel like we've done these before. But
bummer.
What was the number one movie?
Well, I went with one that I have not brought up before. So a little Steve Martin movie called The Man with Two Brains.
The Man with Two Brains. I've never seen that one. Is that any good?
I haven't seen it since I was a kid, but I remember as a kid thinking it was pretty funny.
One of my favorite Steve Martin films was All of Me. Did you ever see that movie?
Yes.
With him and Lily Tomlin?
Lily Tomlin? Hilarious.
Yes. I love that movie.
I like the scene where he's like at the bathroom and he's like, "Ugh, why does your side of the body have to do it?" And he's like, "What?" He's like, "Take it out." Like, take what out? It's like the little fireman, and she's like, "What?" And I can't remember. They go back and forth. It's like, "My penis."
Yeah, that's a pretty good
funny
one. And when he's walking down the street and like half of him is walking like her and half of him's walking like
yes.
Edwina. Got to put Edwina back in bowl. No, the number one movie was not The Man with Two Brains. By the way, do you watch Only Murders in the Building?
Yeah, I have not seen the second season, which I need to catch up.
We're in the second season right now. Christina and I, we haven't finished it. So
I saw the first season though, and I really liked it. It was really good.
It's a good show. But that wasn't the number one movie. None of that. No Steve Martin. Steve Martin didn't have anything to do with this movie. He might have seen it. I don't know. The movie is called Flashdance.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
What is it? Jennifer Beals? Is that her?
I don't know.
I think so. She wants to be a dancer, but she's a welder.
That's right.
And then Irene Cara, R.I.P. Irene Cara just passed away.
Oh, yeah, R.I.P. I saw that movie once, and
That's
I
enough.
remember liking it a lot more than I thought it was. Like, this is not a bad movie. But yeah, I'm good. One and done.
Yeah, it's okay. Number one song.
I'm going
I'll give
with,
you a hint. I'll give you a
Yeah.
hint. It's not Flashdance.
It's not what
It's not from Flashdance at all.
Okay. I went with one by a band that I really, really like. I went with Burning Down the House by Talking Heads.
I love Talking Heads.
I fucking love Talking Heads as well.
Did you ever see the movie True Stories? The
Oh,
movie
no,
they did?
the one that he directed?
Yeah.
David Byrne directed that, right?
Yeah, he
I haven't
did.
seen it.
That movie's weird.
Yeah, I'll bet.
I don't think I appreciated it when I watched it, though. Like, I think I was probably like, what the fuck is this shit? That's what I sounded like when I was younger. No, the number one song was not by a band at all. It was by an individual, probably the greatest of all time. The
Michael
GOAT.
Jackson?
Yes, of course. It's probably the greatest song. Well, the second greatest song off of the album that came out right around this time.
Okay, so Beat It?
No.
Thriller?
Beat It's not this. Thriller's the first greatest song. The second one
Starting
is
something?
Billie Jean.
Oh, shit. Yeah, okay. Come on.
Billie
baby.
Jean's better than
Get your
Beat
shit
It.
together.
Get your shit together, David. Come on. Billie Jean's better than Beat It, right?
Ooh. I don't know. God, they're both really good. That's a tough one. Because Billie Jean's got that awesome bass line. Mm-hmm. But then Beat It's got the Eddie Van Halen guitar solo.
Eddie Van Halen solo. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Thriller's the best on the album, right? Because it's got the Vincent Price rap.
I don't even know if that's my favorite song on that album. I don't know.
It's the best
cool.
video
Oh,
the
by
best
far. Definitely
video.
a video for sure.
ever made. The Deadly Spawn was written by Douglas McEwen, directed by Douglas McEwen, with music by Paul Cornell, Michael Perlstein, and Kenneth Walker, produced by Ted A. Bohus, John Dodds, and Tim Hildebrand. This movie stars Charles George Hildebrand as Charles, Tom DeFranco as Pete, Richard Lee Porter as Frankie, Gene Telford. Listen, it doesn't matter. It stars a bunch of people that nobody's ever fucking heard of, except for their parents. The runtime now,
Friends and loved ones. Yeah.
the runtime on the internet said it was 78 minutes. The Shudder version was 81. I don't know if we got 3 extra
bonus
minutes
footage
that they didn't get. But the budget for this movie was, what do you think?
Pretty low. I don't know, $50,000.
$25,000.
Okay.
And box office, I have no information on the box office. It's probably zero. Hotbox. Now, I didn't remember. You said you remember seeing this at the video store.
I think so. Yeah.
I didn't remember seeing this at the video store. I don't know if the VHS copy that I picked, because there's different versions, right? And sometimes I go with whatever one looks the best.
The coolest. Yeah.
The coolest. The one that I picked this week for the Deadly Spawn is actually Return of the Aliens Deadly Spawn. Do you know they titled it? Do you know why they titled it that?
They try to get on the alien train. Yeah.
Yeah. It was like,
I guess it makes sense.
It was like a sequel to Alien.
Oh,
it's like who in their right mind would have been like, would buy that? I hear they made a sequel to Alien.
Yeah.
And this is what they came up with. Anyway,
he's in the city now.
The cover of the box has the title up in the upper left-hand corner. It says Return of the Aliens Deadly Spawn. And then there's a picture of the main kind of creature, this three-headed worm-like thing. Mm-hmm. And each mouth has like many rows of teeth on the top and bottom of the jaw. And there's also like a few body parts like scattered around, like arms and legs.
Yeah, I think that's the art I remember.
On the floor. And then below the picture, it says Survival of the Fittest. Man versus the ultimate eating machine.
Oh, fuck.
Going to the back of the box, there's a few like still shots of the movie of the creature like eating or attacking various people. And then it reads the following. Return of the Aliens Deadly Spawn. A fiery meteorite crashes into the woods, unleashing its deadly occupant to search for food. The multi-headed alien begins its reproductive cycle by violently attacking and consuming two young campers. Gorged with food, the monster finds its way into a dark basement where it gives birth to thousands of spawn, fish-like creatures with insatiable appetites. These alien larvae attack most everything and quickly chew their way through pipes and wiring. When Sam goes downstairs to investigate, the alien viciously attack. The alien, I don't know, I might have misspelled this. The aliens viciously attack and consume him. His wife and the electrician are next in line as the mother alien and baby spawn grow in size and number. The army of aliens makes its way upstairs to devour a room full of unsuspecting old women before taking over the house and ultimately the planet. Can mankind survive a battle with the ultimate eating machine? Take cover wherever you can, but don't go into the basement. Warning. This film contains graphic and elaborate special effects which may be unsuitable for your children. Discretion is advised. Approximate running time, 90 minutes. Approximately. It's actually 81, but
yeah, fuck it.
We're rounding up.
Yeah, what'd you rate it?
So that pretty much
they gave the whole plot for the most part.
Pretty much. I hate ever since starting doing this. Actually, I like it for this segment, but I hate VHS boxes that tell you the whole
don't be
fucking
so specific.
plot.
Yeah, just give me the broad strokes, dude.
Yeah, an alien crash lands, and this kid and his brother has to help destroy it. What happens? Will they? Won't they? Is Uncle Herb a fucking pedophile? We don't know.
Find out. You got to rent it. Be Kind Rewind.
Oh, fuck, David. What is this movie about? All right, the movie opens up. And first of all, I'm going to say this right off the bat. And I can't blame the movie for this because it had a $25,000 budget. So I got to take that into consideration. This movie, when it's dark, it's dark.
It's hard
can't
to see, yes.
Shit. I'm watching this and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? There's like these campers, I guess, and some meteor falls to Earth, of course, like every movie starts. And they don't really investigate it. They're just like, wonder what that was. And then like one gets eaten.
Yeah, and they find it and like, then it gets eaten by the darkness. Like we don't see anything actually. We don't see a creature of any kind. He just gets eaten. And
then the other camper's like, hey, what's going on? And then he gets
he went to go get a camera or something. And he's like,
and he gets sucked into like the tent. And then he's like twitching, like his hands like twitch and he's bleeding. And then that's it for them too. They're not main characters at all. I mean, obviously they're dead, but
We don't hear anything about them ever again.
No.
That's it.
And then there's this house, and it's like morning time, and we see a couple waking up at the butt crack of dawn. And this is Sam and Barb.
Barb's got like a see-through nightie on. You can see her nips.
And they don't look like they could have kids that are as old as the kids that they have. Especially right. Sam. He looks like he's like 30. And he's got like a 20-year-old kid in college. Like, what happened?
Yeah, they did look a little young.
They looked a little young, but whatever. They're going out of town. They're going to leave. I don't know what they're doing. They're going to a market. I don't know. They're going to a flea market. I don't know what they're doing.
I can't remember. Yeah, they're going to go into town or something.
So they're leaving really early, and the kids are still sleeping. And her sister and brother-in-law are in town. And that's Herb and Millie. And they're staying with them. But they're leaving before anybody gets up. A rainstorm hits. And Sam has to go down to his basement. It's like flooding.
Yeah, he wants to check to see if it's flooded.
Well, you know what, Sam? I'm with you, because my fucking basement would always flood. You need to get yourself a sump pump, Sam. Now, what that does is it takes all the water that rises and it pumps it right out. I had this all explained to me. So, anyway, I felt for this guy, because I was like, yeah, I've been there, dude. I walked down my basement and it's all leaky. He gets eaten.
Yup.
Like, immediately.
Same deal, though. Eaten it like by a shadow. We don't see any sort of monster.
Barb goes down. She's like, Sam, are you downstairs, Sam?
Where are you, Sam? Sam?
Sam, is that you?
Are you all right? What's going on?
Sam?
Quit playing around.
There's a cool thing that fucking happens here, though. She's like looking and she's like getting scared, and all of a sudden Sam's hand comes on her shoulder, and she's like, oh, Sam. And she turns, and it's Sam's hand and arm sticking out of the monster's mouth.
Yeah.
It's just like chewing on it like a cigar, and it's just bouncing.
Yeah.
Oh, so that was pretty fucking cool.
It was pretty cool. And then, go ahead. So the alien then proceeds to eat her face off.
Yeah.
Like, the alien gets her, starts pulling her face, which I thought looked pretty awesome.
Gnarly. It's pretty fucking gnarly. I'll talk about the special effects in my review, but suffice it to say, I love the special effects in this movie.
Dude, me too.
I think they're awesome.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay, so then everybody starts slowly waking up. They're dead, okay? But before they died, Barb had written a note and pinned it to the corkboard, and it says, hey, everybody, we left early, you know, whatever.
Did you have one of those corkboards in the 80s? We did.
Did we? I don't know if we did or not. We had something.
You put notes and like business cards and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, currently we have a whiteboard that's a calendar at our house, and we change it every month, and we can write in the dates and all the stuff that we have going on. You know, when you have kids and they have different shit going on at school and
activities, right?
Yeah, and there's birthdays.
Keep track of all that stuff.
Horror conventions. I have to write it down so everybody knows. She writes a note, basically says, hey, we're gone.
Yep.
And Uncle Herb and Aunt Millie wake up, and they see that they're gone. She's making breakfast for everybody. And then Pete.
The kid wakes up. His name's Charles.
Charles.
He's got a fucking awesome room with cool monster shit everywhere.
Charles is a cool kid.
Yeah.
He's like young Tommy Jarvis.
Very much. Yeah.
He's all into horror stuff and dressing up like costumes and monster movies and
scaring people, pulling pranks.
Scaring people. We'll get to that in just a second. Pete is his older brother who's in college, and he's a wannabe scientist. And he needs to study for a fucking test that's coming up. So he calls, he's in his tidy fucking whiteys.
It was funny too. He's in his fucking tidy whiteys, and he gets a phone call from his buddy and just talking in his underwear.
Yep.
And they set up like a study date with his buddy whose name's Frankie, and then with these girls, Ellen and Kathy.
Yep. And anyway, Uncle Herb. Let's talk about this guy for a second. He's like a psychologist, I guess.
Yeah.
And him and Millie are on their way through their town because he's got to go to some conference, a psychological psychologist conference, I guess. And he wants to interview Charles. I don't know why particularly, but he really wants to.
Yeah, I kind of guessed it has something to do with like his fascination with horror and scary shit, I guess.
Probably. But they proceed to have this interview. It's one of the most uncomfortable scenes ever. So I thought, David, you and I would reenact this scene. So I transcribed this scene.
Yeah.
Paused it, rewound it, typed it out. This is exactly how it is. And I sent it to you. And you and I will now reenact this scene between Uncle Herb and Charles. And I will be Uncle Herb.
You'll be Unky Herb?
Unky Herb. All right, ready? Picture it, if you will, everybody, in your mind's eye. There's going to be a living room setting, 1980s living room setting. And Charles walks in, and Uncle Herb stands up from his chair. Oh, sit down, Charles. Would you be willing to help me with some things for my conference next week?
Sure.
Great. There's going to be a discussion group of behaviorists in child psych, and I think your hobby would be very interesting. I mean, you're so into it. Do you mind?
No.
Great. So I can ask you some questions? You don't have to answer if you don't want to. Let's see now. First of all, do you have any favorite monsters?
Yeah, I guess so.
What are they?
The mole people, Frankenstein, the terror from beyond.
Do you like scaring people?
Yeah, it's fun.
Do you ever get scared yourself?
You mean really scared?
Yes,
Not really. Maybe sometimes. I used to.
Would you be willing to put on one of your monster costumes and scare me?
Well, I don't know.
Oh, hi. That sounds stupid. How could you scare me if I know about it? Besides, I don't scare easily. Forget about it. I tell you what, though. I'm going to be working down here for a while. How about if I come up later and you show me some of your stuff? How would that be? Okay?
Okay.
Great. End of session. Thank you, Charles.
You're welcome.
And scene. All right.
Fucking creepy, man.
I mean, it's all pretty creepy up to a certain point, and then it just like really gets creepy when he's like, "Would you be willing to put on one of your monster costumes and scare me?"
When I was watching that, I laughed out loud and rewound it. I was like, "What? Would you put on your costume and scare me?"
He's such a fucking creepazoid.
Funky Herb, are you a pedophile?
He's like, "Oh, are you scared of one-eyed monsters? Trouser snakes, perhaps?"
You ever seen a one-eyed trouser snake? No. What's
so
that?
Aunt Millie.
I'll show you.
Aunt Millie leaves, and this is when Herb has this whole pedophile conversation with Charles. Charles ends up like thinking his uncle's weird. He even like gives him like "you're kind of fucking weird" look.
You're creeping me out, Uncle Herb.
And he goes up to his room. Actually, he goes up to get into a costume to scare his fucking uncle.
Yes.
But Millie leaves, and on her way out, I guess an electrician is stopping by. So she pins a note on the front door that says, "Electrician, the side door is open. Go through there."
Did we ever have at any point prior to this a conversation that an electrician was coming?
We didn't. However, on the corkboard, there was a note.
It did
next
say
to
that?
the note that Millie writes, or not Millie, Barb writes. It says, "Electrician coming on whatever day."
Very good. All right.
Yeah.
Let it
So
slide.
We're good. They did preview it. So yeah. So she writes a note saying the electrician go around the back. She's heading over to her mother's house, Bunny. And Bunny's having a luncheon for her old friends.
Bunny buddies.
And they're all vegetarians. I don't know why that was like a point that they were trying to make with this, but these characters all hated meat. They were all making ratatouille and fucking vegetarian gumbo and all sorts of shit.
Yeah, no meat.
There was no meat. But anyway, the electrician arrives, and he's going to go down to the basement to investigate the circuit breaker. Now, Charles has his costume on. He's got like a cape and a mask on.
Yeah. He wants to scare the electrician.
Yeah. The electrician goes downstairs. We never see the electrician really again. We don't see what happens to him.
Yeah.
But we do see is Charles goes downstairs, and we see kind of the end result of the electrician. He's dead.
Yeah. He finds his dead body, and he finds his mom's head.
Yeah, and he sees the basement is infested with these fucking tadpole-like slug fucking creatures. And there's one of them that is fucking huge. That's the 3-headed one from the cover of the thing. The box
he's like,
art.
Oh, fuck.
And it's got all these fucking teeth. It looks like the Audrey 2.
Audrey 2? From the Shop of Horrors, yeah.
Yeah. It's like, feed me, Charles.
Me, Seymour.
Go get me your perverted uncle and feed me.
I need to be fed
sure
one
thing.
pedophile a day. I'm very hungry.
Speaking of which, Herb, who's said he was going to be working, he falls asleep. And we don't really see what happens to him right now, but we see like there's shit crawling underneath the carpet towards him.
Mm-hmm. Uh-oh.
Ellen and Frankie arrive to, should say Charles. Yeah, he sees his mom's head.
But he doesn't leave. Like, so the scene cuts away.
He
now,
freezes.
Frankie and Ellen have arrived at the house for their study date with the brother.
Yep.
Pete.
And they had found on the side of the road one of these creatures.
Yeah, and it's dead.
And so they take it upstairs, and they're like, "Oh, maybe it's a Philothropithorith, or maybe it's a And Frankie's an idiot, so he's like, "Oh, maybe it's a fucking
tadpole."
Tadpole." And they're like, that's what we just said.
Sperm that came out of my dick.
They cut it up. It is kind of weird here though, because it goes from like this dissecting scene, and then all of a sudden they're back in the bedroom, and then they're dissecting it again. It's kind of edited a little bit.
There's some weird cuts, yeah. But as they're dissecting it, Frankie, the dumb one, is like, maybe it's an alien.
And they're like, Frankie,
don't be so
don't
silly,
be an idiot,
you dumbass.
You're such a fucking moron. You want to go fuck?
And we find out that Pete, he's got a thing for Ellen, because I think Frankie leaves the room at one point, and he's like, "Are you going with him? You going to the movies? But are you going with him?"
Yeah, and she's like, "I don't know what you're talking about." And he's like, "Do you want to go with me?" And she's like, "To the movies?" And he's like, "You know what I mean." And she's like, "Whatever. You only want me for one thing." He's like, "You're damn right." I mean, no.
What?
No, I just came.
They do kiss. Yeah, maybe that's when he finished.
They do. Bunnies. We're back at Bunny's buddy's house. They prepare lunch, and some of the spawn have arrived and infested the house. And her guests arrive, and she's making her fucking goulash or whatever she's making. And
she's using like a food processor.
Yeah. And she accidentally, one of the slugs gets in there. She doesn't notice, and she processes it up, and then they're eating it, which is fucking
like when she
gross.
turns the processor on, the slug or whatever goes, eek! Yeah, they start eating that shit. Oh,
and they're all like, "Ugh, it tastes like shit." And all of a sudden, they're everywhere. These slugs are everywhere.
Yeah, just attacking.
They start attacking. They start biting their fucking Achilles.
It's a fun scene too, because when they're eating, Millie goes to the other room to try to call her husband, but she can't get through to him. So then she walks back in the room, and when she walks back in the room, that's when we see there's just
chaos.
These things everywhere eating everybody. She's like, "Holy fuck!"
It's fucking chaos as ensued. There's one eating somebody's ankle. They're in their hair, and all these old women. To give them their credit, these old women aren't just laying down. They're beating the shit out of these things, and they all survive.
Yeah, they get away.
They get in the car and they hightail it out of there. They're like, "Fuck you, Bunny," and they fucking leave. Back at the house, though, Pete and Ellen and Frankie, they go, well, let's go ask Uncle Herb. Uncle Herb's a psychologist. He knows a lot about little kids, and we're gonna go ask him his opinion. And they go down there, and Uncle Herb has been like he's like sucked
He's getting
in.
eaten. Yeah.
Yeah, but they've eaten his eyeballs out. They've like eaten him from the inside.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
It almost
looking.
looked like something had like burst out of his chest. I couldn't quite tell.
Yeah.
But yeah, his body's all fucked up.
Yeah, he's just looked like
He's very, very dead. Meanwhile, Charles is still in the basement. They've been kind of cutting
frozen.
back and forth. Like, kid's been in there all day.
Yeah. The adult creature.
Oh, real
comes.
quick, we should all say that when they see their uncle getting eaten, they're like, "Oh, Jesus Christ!" So they all run up to who is it? Pete's room? Is that where they go?
Well, they go. Hold on, they go to run, but then the adult creature comes out, and he's like, and it scares them, and then they're like, "Get the fuck!" And so they go up to Charles's bedroom.
That's
because
right.
that's the first bedroom that they run up to, and they barricade themselves in there. Charles distracts the adult one because he realizes that they like sound. It's like that fucking movie with John Krasinski.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, so he slowly kind of sneaks out of the basement and gets up to where they are.
Yep. And he turns on the radio, and it
Dude,
makes,
I love that too. As that distraction, it reminded me of when we used to play Friday the 13th, the game on Switch. When you do the turn on the radio to distract
Yeah,
Jason.
it would make Jason think someone was there. Yep.
Yeah. And then you fucking take off running.
And you'd still get caught.
And you go, tee-hee, I got you, tee-hee.
Ee-oo, ee-oo. The monster eats the radio, and it causes an electrical fire and burns the monster.
Yeah.
So Charles knows that it can be burnt, I guess. Pete and his friends see that Kathy has just arrived. She's a little late to the party. And she's like, "Where is everybody? What's everybody doing?" And they're like, "Get in here, get in here. We're having an orgy. Get in here." She's like, "Orgy."
Take off your clothes.
But anyway, they pull her into the room, and they explain it to her, and she's like, "Oh my God." But then they all decide that they're going to...
Oh, she sees it, I think, doesn't she? And she goes, what the fuck was that?
Yeah, she does say that. That was a great line, actually, because up to that point, it was all kind of like PG-13. But then she's like, what the fuck was that? I was like, that was perfect. The teens decide that they're going to go to Pete's bedroom so they can use the phone, because Charles doesn't have a phone in his room. Mm-hmm. So they open the door, but then the adult creature is like right there. So
fucking Kool-Aid man doesn't just like bust in.
Pete runs to another room and goes out onto the roof. Frankie and Kathy run up to the attic, but Ellen, the chick that Pete got the boner for, she's stuck in Charles's room. The chick who we think was the main chick, okay?
Yeah, the main love interest of
the
Pete.
main love interest. She's stuck in Charles's room. The creature breaks down the door and bites her fucking head off, David.
I love it. I love it.
He fucking bites
and
her head off.
Like tosses her headless corpse out of a window.
Doesn't even eat her. He's like, fuck you. And he throws her body out the window. Pete sees her, and he's like, through the attic window, but he's like fucking devastated. He's like traumatized.
Like, I guess I'll move on to Kathy now.
And as he's looking out the attic, he sees her headless body, and he's fucking traumatized. Then he sees his parents' car. I'm like, motherfucker, this whole day you didn't see that your parents' car was still in the garage? Like, it wasn't hidden.
Yeah, but I guess maybe it wasn't visible from where he was. But I also did like, it was kind of sad because I think he has that realization that my parents never left
dead.
and they're dead.
Yep.
Oh, this is where we get the Kool-Aid man alien. I think doesn't he, like bust through a door or something?
Frankie, yeah. Well, he busted it through the door. Well, he probably does it again.
He does it a couple times.
Yeah. Pete's like, I gotta go. And he's trying to open the door, but Frankie and him start fighting, like, don't open the door, don't open the door. And so they're making a bunch of noise. This attracts the monsters, of course. But Charles is the fucking smart one. And while he's been frozen for 3 hours, he's concocted a plan.
And he's been wearing that damn cape the entire time. Never took it off.
He's a fucking superhero, David. He has this bottle of flash powder that he's used earlier on in the movie to kind of like scare
Like a
his
smoke
aunt.
effect. Yeah.
And he takes an electrical cord that he's frayed the end of the wire, and he's going to use that as a fuse and shove it into this bottle. And he's going to have the monster swallow it. Then he's going to plug the electrical cord in, and it's going to blow up. Through a series of events, that's exactly what happens.
Yeah, he pulls it off. Well done, Charles.
And he blows it up, and then a bunch of people come, and they're all like hunting down these little slug-like monsters, and they're zapping it with like what are those, cattle prods and shit?
Yeah,
like
this scene reminded me a lot of Night of the Living Dead, like the cleanup aftermath.
Yes.
Like you got like police and ambulances and
Yeah.
burn like piles of dead bodies or dead.
It was
aliens, and
exactly
they're
like
burning
that.
them.
I thought that same
Yeah.
thing. And then you got the cops who were talking. They're like, "Oh, you got another one. We got 5 more down here. You should have seen the size of that one." And then Millie returns, and she sees Pete and Charles, and Frankie and Kathy are taken away. And then there's like this guard who's standing outside of the house later on that night, and he's talking to his confidant on the phone or on the radio. And he's like, "Yeah, everything's clear here." All of a sudden he hears like this,
Like a rumbling kind of sound.
and then it cuts to outside, and we just see a giant, like what we thought was a hill is just a giant one of those, and it stands
Yeah,
up,
it just
and it's like
bursts out of the ground. Like, oh shit.
the end. Oh fuck. Okay. I thought this movie started, and I was like, I'm gonna hate this fucking movie. This movie is gonna be a movie that I'm like, oh come on.
I thought the same thing. I picked this movie because I was like, this movie's going to be really shitty and we'll have fun making fun of it, but this is going to be like a half-head type film.
It reminded me of. Did you ever watch MST3K? Mystery
Yeah, a little
Science
bit.
Theater.
Yeah.
Okay. Mystery Science Theater 3000 had it was one of the early ones that they released on VHS, and the video store I worked at carried them. And so I watched it. And one of the early ones was an episode called Pod People.
Mm-hmm.
One of the funniest ones. I can see why they released it, but Pod People. This reminds me a lot of that movie. And not that I loved that movie. That movie sucked. But I loved when they made fun of it. Tom Servo and Crow and Joel all made fun of it. But this movie started that same way, and I was like, this is going to be really bad, and it's going to be just like Pod People, and it's not really fun to watch unless you're watching MST3K make fun of it, right? But as I'm watching it, I'm realizing I don't hate this movie. I actually am enjoying this movie.
Yes.
And I'm not wanting to make fun of it. Yes, you could make fun of certain things.
Yeah.
But
no, I had a ball. This movie was so much fun.
Yeah, and I said earlier that the special effects were really good. When the girl got her head bitten off, that was my single favorite scene in the fucking movie, because it's like...
Me too. Yeah, I was not expecting it, and it looked awesome.
Yeah. The acting wasn't atrocious. It wasn't good, but it wasn't atrocious. It wasn't
was
like...
passable.
Yeah. And the story was pretty simple, but it was entertaining enough. And I think that it would be a fun movie to watch by yourself, or even better with a group of people.
Yeah, definitely.
So for all those reasons, I also can't give it really that high of a rating, because it's fucking whatever this movie is called. The Deadly Spawn.
The Deadly Spawn.
So I'm going to give it 2.5 Pamela Voorhees Heads.
Same page, my friend. I gave it a 2.5 also. I thought this movie was going to be terrible, and I had a lot of fun. I almost went 3, but I was like, it's not a good movie. I feel like my desire to give it a 3 is more of just because I had fun with it, but let's still call it what it is. Like, it's not a good movie. But I was thoroughly entertained. I would totally watch it again. And afterwards, it's like, how come I haven't heard more about this movie?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I would think that this would be a good movie. Like, this would be a good movie for Joe Bob to show. I don't know if he's already shown it. This is a movie that I think
would be
people
fun to, like, you could watch like a double feature like this and The Blob or something like that. It's kind of in that same vein.
Or Night of the Creeps.
Yeah,
with the slug-like creatures. Mm-hmm. This would be a good one. The Blob is a good example. I really do think that it's a good movie. Like, it's a good whatever type alien creature.
Yeah, creature
story.
Feature.
Yeah. So, I wonder if Fred Decker saw this movie, though.
Oh, before he made Night of the Creeps?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, when did Night of the Creeps come out?
86.
He could have seen it and been like, I can do that movie better.
Maybe.
The slug-like creatures and stuff. Yeah, and he did. But it's a good movie. 2.5 heads overall.
Yeah,
we say
surprised.
Go see it. It's on Shudder right now. Well, right now as we're recording this. Even if it's not
still on there.
Yeah, even if it's not, I would recommend seeing it. So it's called
And
The
if it
Deadly
isn't,
Spawn.
I think it was also on YouTube, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I watched it on Shudder.
Yeah. The Deadly Spawn or Return of the Aliens Deadly Spawn or Return of the Aliens : not Return of the Aliens : that would be a different movie.
Return of the Aliens : the anus. The asshole.
If you've seen this movie, we'd love to hear your thoughts on it. If you haven't seen this movie, we'd still love to hear from you. You should contact us. We are lonely. We're lonely people. We need interaction.
We're so lonesome. We need human contact and interaction. Maybe you come over and you put on one of your costumes for us. Try to scare us.
Are you afraid of the dark? If I turn the lights off right now and made you feel around for something.
And something touches you.
What a fucking
Some sort of slug-like thing touches your thigh.
Even that scene, though. Do you think as the filmmakers were making it, because we read that scene and it got uncomfortably long while we're reading it. Like, as I'm doing it, I'm like, God, this is really long.
I thought
and it was uncomfortably long to watch. And I'm like, do you think of the filmmakers? It'd be interesting. You should contact that dude and be like, I got a question for you about that movie. That scene between Uncle Herb and Charles. Like, what's up with that?
Yeah. And was he a pervert? I want to know more about his backstory.
Why did they feel the need to have that scene? Like, why was that scene important? Like, we already knew that Charles was into monsters. Like, we didn't need that. He was talking about it at the breakfast table. You see his room.
The scene makes no sense. And like, Uncle Herb's background and his profession isn't important to the plot.
No.
It doesn't make sense.
Anyway, how can they contact us, David?
Twitter, Facebook, the Slasher app, TikTok, YouTube, Hive. Search the Swearwolves on those platforms. On Instagram, search the Swearwolves podcast. You can go to our website, theswearwolves.com. You can email us at contact@theswearwolves.com, or you can leave us a voicemail at 623-282-1851.
So for the Swearwolves this week, I'm Bret.
I'm David.
Great. End of session. Thank you, David.
You're welcome.